All right, how's it going? My name is William Bridges. I'm the general manager for Neo Network, and I have been editing the Newswire shows for the last few weeks. Actually, just the whole summer, pretty much. Um, and this video is basically to show you how to edit and put together short form um, editorial content, news content um, for mobile devices. So for portrait mode, pretty much. It's really simple. I'm going to run you through a few little things to make sure that you have all the skills that you need to, so that you guys too can put together your own um, packages as well as other projects that we were likely to run over the course of the semester and the whole year. That being said, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the organization of the files. So if you look up here, you can actually see the path of where this project is kept. And all the other associated files and folders are kept in the same place as well. So this is important to know. So the first thing here is volumes. That just means like in my Finder pretty much. And then it goes to the device, which is my LaCie portable hard drive. Or yeah, portable hard drive. And then next is Neo Network. So within my device, there's a file called Neo Network. And then if you go over again, you'll see that there's another file within there, or folder, excuse me, within this folder titled PRN, which contains all of the things that I have done or have saved on my hard drive for PRN, or my portable hard drive. Um, After that, you'll see that there's another folder called the Newswire, which is where I keep all of the Newswire files, assets, and things like that. And then if you go over again, you will see 8, 7, 20. So within the Newswire folder, I have several other folders with numbers. And those are the dates of when that particular show was either expected to be premiered or was premiered. Sometimes shows get produced really late in the day and they didn't get posted until after midnight or maybe the next day. But it's a pretty easy way to track when they were done. I plan on also in the future tracking how or tracking these shows based off of who reported them, because I feel like that might be a very easy way to find things as well. But for right now, it's chronological by date, and it's something that's easy for me to understand. And then after that, I have titled each and every PRN project folder, which is this window right here, as PRN Newswire, and then the date, and then Premiere Pro project, or Premiere project is this little extension. Okay, so now that that's handled, the window is what we will talk about next. So the window is, or the workspace rather, is very important. It's less strict as other things that I might show you later in the video because it really just depends on your workflow. But the things that you will make sure that you need to have available are the effect controls and the effects. These are something that I use every single time that I make any kind of video. Um, and then obviously the project tab over here, which contains everything that is within this project. Some people kind of like using, these tabs up here: editing, color, effects, audio, graphics, and libraries, and then editing right here. Um, I prefer to have a really big open space to keep all of my assets because sometimes they pile up. I have a lot of photos here, or a lot of photos here, or a lot of photos here, and it kind of bugs me to have to scroll through them and find them, when they're, this small. I don't like that, so I like to keep it kind of big. And then I also like to keep my window over here kind of big as well to make sure that I see the window of what people will be seeing as large as I possibly can. And then obviously this is my workspace for my timeline right here. So this needs to, for me, take up the majority of the screen, so that I can work quickly and easily, and I can scroll through really easily and have everything work really well. It looks like a Christmas tree kind of right now, and we're going to talk about how color coding is important later. Um, so the organization of the files here. So basically what I have here are 1, 2, and 3. These are each individual stories for the show itself. And in each story contains the reporter's dialogue and her talking about, and this is Brianna Malone, by the way. I think she's a very talented reporter. This is where she talks about Walmart and their drive-in movies. And then here I have all the assets that I would need in order to tell the story, or assist her in telling the story. So that includes a picture of Walmart, I took a screen recording on my phone of scrolling through where you can find information about the drive-ins, so people can see it on their mobile devices. Um, Pictures of movie tickets and popcorn and radios and cars and stuff like that. Um, and that's all contained within here. So if I'm on that part of the show where I'm creating the Walmart segment, which is right here on the timeline, all I need to do is open this up, pull her down onto the timeline, and then as it makes sense, depending on what she's talking about, I grab different pictures and put them on top of her show. And that's what you see when, and let me bring down the volume really quick. And that's what you see when you watch the show and it's doing that. You see all the stuff that I put in the timeline. So first things first, when you're editing the show, oh, actually, no, before we get to that, I'm going to go over another thing really quickly. So other than that, I have these three files. These are the stories. And then what I keep outside of the folders are the outro, which is her dismissing the show, saying, thanks for watching, whatever. And then the intro, which is, this is PRN's Newswire. These are the updates or whatever, whatever. And these are the assets. Assets are basically what I call the transitions and whatnot for the show. Basically, the movement things. So right here, I have the blue transition, and I use the blue transition, and all of you should, when creating these types of shows, use the blue transition for transitioning between stories. Not necessarily between pictures or between other things, but this is used as a marker to signify that a story is finished being told, and now we're moving on to the next story, or we're moving on to something different entirely. So that's what this is for. Then this is the Newswire transition. This is used for transitioning between photos or just to get the person from one thing to the next within the same story. The blue lower third, you can't see it because this little icon is in the way, but this is basically our little logo right here, which I'm going to show you how to put there in a minute. This is the Newswire outro right here at the end of the video. This is the intro. And then this is the lower third, which is what I use when I give people their names and their titles and everything. And if you can see right here, there's actually a little ticker at the bottom that moves that contains the headlines for the show as well as the date, so people know when this was aired and what day it is, as if they couldn't just look on their phone and find the date themselves. All right, I know that was a lot of information to throw at you, but we're going to go ahead and move to the timeline. So I'm going to go back here so you can see everything, and then to the timeline. Oh, also one more quick thing before I do it. This right here, this may look like another piece of media, but it's really not. So whenever you create anything or drag anything onto the timeline down here, it will create a segment or a sequence. I'm sorry, a sequence. And the sequence is the entire video. This is it right here. Now this comes in handy if you're creating like a really long production that requires you to edit different scenes at a different time, and you don't necessarily need all of the entire production's content in one window. That doesn't make any sense. They create sequences for you to organize things into different situations. Now this I've only seen come into play when creating things longer than 10 or 15 minutes, or if you're creating like an entire feature-length movie or something like that, then it makes sense. But for the purposes of a 3-minute video, it doesn't really matter. So you can keep this just out, but make sure that you title it so that you can tell it apart from the other things, because it can get kind of confusing because it's going to look a lot like some of the other media that you have, as in this and this look identical because it starts with this video. And you see how final right here and then final right here share the same title because they are the same thing. This is this. Okay, so getting into the timeline now. So first things first, you can see how everything's color coordinated and titled. This makes it really easy to find things if you're looking for something that may not be right or anything like that, or you're looking for something to double check or make an edit to or something like that. You can understand that the Newswire intro and I believe the Newswire outro is going to be this like tangerine color. You can see that all media, like pictures and whatnot, are going to be this like pink color. You can see that the blue transitions, which signifies changing over from one story to another, are going to be this like rose color. You can see that the lower thirds, which are right here, so you can see that's on screen right now, that's going to be these like yellow colors. The Newswire transition there's going to be these like I forget what they called it, but it's like a teal. I forget, it was a specific name for it that I thought was kind of nice. And then obviously her commentary, her video commentary, which is right here. Some of it's right there, and then this is a VO, but it's underneath everything as well. That's going to be this like light sky blue color. And then the audio down here is going to be green. It's only audio, so it's not going to be represented up here on the video area of the timeline. But I can tell that this runs all the way throughout the video, and I know that this is the music that's playing in the background. So sorry again, by the way, that I can't play any of the audio for you. It does a weird thing when I'm trying to record and do all this stuff that it just doesn't come across well. But if you would like to check out the show, go ahead and visit our Instagram page at GSUPRN on Instagram and go to the show that was posted on 8/7/20 with Brianna Malone wearing this red shirt. That is the video that this is. And I'll probably put it in the email or whatever attachment that I'm making this video in, so you guys can go ahead and check out the finished product. So the first thing you want to do when you get the show is look over here at these channels. These are your audio channels and your video channels, separated by this little middle double line right here. You can change, where it lies, but I usually like to keep it somewhere in the middle. It's more important to see the video portion of the timeline than the audio portion of the timeline, but you want to make sure that every now and then you check down here, because sometimes you can overlap audio and then things will cut out, and that's kind of a tricky thing to fix after it's been done. It's not impossible. It's actually fairly simple, but it's way easier just to avoid that problem altogether than to fix it after the fact. So first thing you want to do is come over here and look at the channels. Now, when you originally open up a Premiere Pro file or a project, it's only going to give you 3 channels. It's going to give you 3 video channels and 3 audio channels, which is nowhere near enough for the layers that this project requires. So what you want to do is go ahead and right click or double click or whatever your platform uses. I use a MacBook Pro, so I just click with 2 fingers, which is essentially the equivalent of a right click, and it gets you into this little drop down menu, and go over to add tracks. And then you'll be presented with this little window right here. Now this window has a couple of questions for you. Video tracks, which is here, and then audio tracks, which is here. Now I usually tell it to add 5 or 6, depending on how I'm feeling, of each. You want it to be equal on both audio and video tracks as well, to avoid the aforementioned overlapping of audio issues that can be tricky to fix. So you want to keep it equal and proportionate. I usually add 5 or 6, like I said. 5 or 6 may be a little bit much, because in total that'll be 8 or 9 different tracks on each one, or channels rather, on different one, each one. Wow, falling over my words here. Which is okay. You can always delete them later if you don't need them, but in my experience, I always find it beneficial to have more than you need. I mean, even in this project right here, I have more than I need. I have these 3 empty ones right in the middle, all the way through my project, except for right here. I needed another channel, so I added it right here. But you can see that it's pretty much 3 superfluous channels that I didn't need. I keep that here just in case I need to stagger things a little bit more on top of one another, add other elements, and I don't want to have to create a new one all the way up here and then drag all the stuff up because certain things need to stay on top of other things. So I keep these here as insurance policy, as a backup. If I showed you some other projects, you would see other things that actually stacked up in a way that was really strange, just because that video required it. And this just saves your butt. So moving on. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and edit this video, and then I'll continue in the next video, because this video is getting kind of long. It's at 2.3 gigabytes so far. So I'll be back in the next video to show you how to continue editing the show. So see you then.